Good morning from DTRAIN. I'm Commander Heyman, the Director of Auxiliary, and I have a little time this morning just to give an update on information from my office and to say hello from our friends and our bosses. So first, let me start by saying I am so glad and so happy to be the one to share the thanks and appreciation of our District Commander, Admiral Timmy. Some of you may remember him as the sector commander for Sector Ohio Valley. We're so happy, and also the director, the assistant commandant for prevention policy. So he has been involved with you all and the auxiliary certainly for many years at the highest levels of our organization. So we are so glad to have him in the region. He understands the Western Rivers. He understands the special needs of our auxiliary in the Western Rivers. He understands the auxiliary in general, the national organization. And so he's going to be a great friend and partner to us. He certainly sends his best regards. He could not be with us today for a number of reasons, not the least of which is a significant hurricane and catastrophic flooding and damage in Louisiana. Also, Captain Reed, his chief of staff, was on schedule to come be with us. He too had to back out after Hurricane Ida. And so I would also want to make sure I share right now the incredible thanks and appreciation that both of those men, as well as my supervisor, Captain Phillips, who you may remember from the last DTRAIN, they are witnessing right now in action a number of your Eastern region peers, but also a number of other auxiliaries from across the 8th District participating in a number of ways in the hurricane response. Some are standing right next to the admiral and the captains, giving advice and guidance, finding places to plug in auxiliarists. Some are downrange, serving as culinary assistants at stations, on cutters. Some are in command posts down within the sectors. Some are out on vessels. Some are all around providing just general guidance and information. And one of the most interesting things that we have had come out of this hurricane season was the use of an auxiliarist to support the command post with general knowledge about high-powered electrical lines and line tensions, because as you may know, there are significant power outages in the region, and they're expecting that to continue for weeks. And just having an auxiliarist there next to the command staff who understands how line work may need to be done, how repairs need to be effected, it's just an important thing to have at the side of our commander. So that's an exciting way that our auxiliarists are supporting the Coast Guard right now. So really can't thank you enough for what you're doing. As your director, I want to say I've been so impressed this spring and summer of what's been happening. I see a lot of members continuing to strive and work hard to continue training, to continue qualification processes, and to really keep the organization energized. I still see a good number of applications coming to my office, which is fantastic. I see a good number of wonderful applicants and a diverse pool of applicants coming into the office. And so I can't thank you enough for continuing to get out and engage with the boating public, because now is the time. I think we have a very unique opportunity to engage and find new members, different members. I've said this in the spring. I continue to say this. I talk with your leadership team about this frequently, and I know they believe it as well, that this is a turning point, right? The pandemic and the response to the pandemic has changed fundamentally how Americans recreate. It has changed how people view family and view their quality time and even view outdoor versus indoor activity. And as you know, there's been a significant uptick in boat ownership, and that boat ownership also includes paddle sports, paddlecraft, right? And so participation in traditional boating activities is happening. Changes are happening, and so we are on a great cusp, a great opportunity to change things. As you have experienced throughout the past 2 years, and as you're experiencing right now, the use of technology has also fundamentally changed how members interact and react with each other, and I ask that you continue to explore those opportunities. Find ways to reach more members. Find ways to think outside the box. For example, I was just talking to Commodore about this. I'm a mom of 3 children that are sports age. So my Saturday mornings are spent on the soccer field. My Wednesday, Thursday, and Tuesday evenings are spent driving kids to scout meetings and to sports practice and doing homework. So so for me to meet online at 7 o'clock at night on a Saturday, that actually is pretty optimal to me. Or to meet Sunday evening, which is tough for some parents getting ready for school next week. But I encourage you to think about that and maybe find, are there other ways? And you can do that just by asking. You know, what if you put out an advertisement for a PE class that's held at a different hour? Or maybe it's broken up over a couple of weeknights instead of it being a Saturday or a Sunday activity. You might find interest, and you might find that through Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media platform you might choose to use. You might find that your potential members or potential participants in classes want something different. And it just might be worth asking. Ask your membership as well what might work differently, particularly if you're able to use remote platforms to communicate with each other and hold the meetings. Very briefly, I want to touch on the very important fact that that today is what is now known as Patriots' Day, and that was certainly this day is a solemn day. I think we all should be really reflective of that day. I know that communities are learning to celebrate Patriots' Day in different ways, certainly as we move further from those tragic events. That feeling, that emotion, that understanding of Patriots' Day is, of course, naturally going to change. But for those of you that have been in the auxiliary long enough to have been in before September 11th, 2001, I want you to think about what you remember before that time. And what I remember about that time was the Coast Guard's feeling that we were bit happy-go-lucky. We were the peacekeepers, we were duck washers, maybe we did some vessel inspections and a little bit of port security, but it was all very minimal. It was really just about keeping really, really bad actors out. But we weren't thinking about this global terrorism threat. We weren't thinking about a consolidated threat to our infrastructure. We were just thinking about keeping the ports generally safe and keeping the waters clean and just saving lives. We were the lifesavers, and we advertised ourselves as that, and we felt a bit smug when we talked to our DoD counterparts that we had a peacetime mission and we were doing things and we're here saving the waters in the country. And that day, when the Coast Guard became part of the response to that global terrorism threat, really changed fundamentally how we look and feel. And it was a switch. In Coast Guard units across the country, we went from peacekeepers to part of the response force. And it was automatic, and it happened because of our training and our concentration. But it was dramatic, and it was a shift. And then we spent months trying to find our new identity. And then, as you may remember, we transitioned into the Department of Homeland Security, which fundamentally, I said that word multiple times here, but it fundamentally changed how we viewed ourselves. And it's changed how we view ourselves today, because we are part of that big network, the big fabric that is woven to protect our country, to secure the homeland. We are part of the Department of Homeland Security, vice being part of transportation or commerce, where we had always traditionally been housed, or Treasury. We are part of the group that supports and secures the homeland. And I want each one of you as auxiliaries to understand that you too are part of that vital and important fabric. Don't be fooled. Everything you're doing to support the Coast Guard, whether it's a direct interaction with an active duty unit, if you're a culinary assistant on a cutter, allowing that cutter to deploy, because without your presence, there are cutters that are not able to operate without an auxiliarist being on board. There are missions happening right now around the world where auxiliarists are serving as interpreters that would not be happening without an auxiliarist interpreter to facilitate those interactions. There are auxiliarist chaplains out there that are supporting and directly ensuring the mental health, the spiritual health, the family health of our members so they can continue to do that mission. Those things obviously seem obvious, that those support the Homeland Security mission. and are a bit of that direct outflow from our protection and our role. But everything that you do as a boating safety specialist, everything you're doing on a patrol out on the rivers, everything you're doing to support navigation in the waterways, and everything you're doing in general to inform and notify and protect the American public is part of that network of need to secure the homeland. And it's as simple as, frankly, if you're teaching folks to prevent the spread of invasive species or zebra mussels, for example, you're protecting our infrastructure, you're protecting our waterways, you're protecting the nation's commerce, right? A strong commerce means a stronger country. It all feeds into the general security and safety of our country. If you're keeping members aware, if you've got members doing patrols and they're just looking for things, they're interacting with their local law enforcement agencies and noticing there's something strange going on, that, of course, is an important part of it. If you're teaching the American public to be safe so they're not hurting themselves, then that is another vital part, because every time a Coast Guard unit or a local law enforcement or fire department has to spend energy and time saving someone from themselves, saving a boater who should have known better or could have known better with auxiliary assistance or training, that is resources, time, and energy taken from other important missions, whether it be law enforcement or training missions for those units. So everything you're doing is vitally important. Everything you do does flow from that feeling of security. And I want you all to understand that every one of my counterparts, my supervisors, my bosses, I hear it, I see it when I read comments and hear comments from the Commandant directly. He understands your role as well. And so with that, I'll close and really just thank you again and remind you to keep reminding each other of how much you mean to this country and how vital your activities are. So thank you, and I will see you very again soon. And I will be back starting up again on Gold Side 101 missions sessions this fall. So stand by for some information on that. All right, and here's the Commodore.
Thank you, Commander. Those are good words. Welcome, everybody. First off, I'd like to welcome you to our Online Leadership Academy. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I hope that you enjoy what we have in front of us today. To start off, I'd like to first say a couple things. I know that everybody still has a few concerns about the COVID going around, and rightly so. But I'd just like to remind you that we can do any missions that are out there that we've been allowed to do without any restrictions so far. I'd also like to remind you that if you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. That's my requirement. You know, we're all volunteers, we're all adults, we all know how to do a risk assessment every day we go out the front door, and I just ask you to continue that during COVID. If you want to go out and do VEs or program visits, please go out and do them. No restrictions, just be safe. That's all I ask. You know, just do a risk assessment. If you feel the risk is not worth it, don't do it. We don't want you getting sick. Okay, so today, what we have planned, and I'm going to read down the list of some of the classes that we're going to offer today. You heard from DIRAUX. Commander always has some good words to say. What's going on? We're going to have some Anita Daniel come in with some HR changes and tips. We're going to have Teresa Smith come in with some food service opportunities. And I tell you what, that's a growing program right there. We've actually have 2 of our CA specialists in the hurricane area cooking for the Gold Side. They are very appreciative of this, and we really need more. And so if you're interested in that, please check into it. There's 2 brackets of CA specialists, that's 1 and 2. CA1, you can cook for the Gold Side, be deployed on a cutter or at a base. CA2 is you do not cook for the Gold Side, but you can still perform your services for the auxiliary at auxiliary functions. We have Mark Deaver with Flotilla Division Finance Principles, and he'll go over some much needed information about how to fill out your 7025s, and he did a spot on that yesterday, and it was very informative, so might answer a lot of your questions. We also have on one of our newer, not a new program, but a new program is emergency management. What we've done is we've set up what they call EMAC, and it's an emergency management auxiliary coordination cell. And what we're doing is we're qualifying members in emergency management so that we can use them for deployment for hurricanes, disaster relief, and not always on a national level. It will also help for the local level too. The Commodores in 8 Western, 8 Coastal, and myself have been working all year on this program, and the first response was for Hurricane Ida, and it went very well. We had several auxiliaries deployed to the units down there to help out in the emergency management field. So if you're interested in that, let us know. Go to your member trainer, and let's get you started in that, because it's a much needed field also. We have Gerlinde with diversity opportunities, and we also are going to have Ramon Lorenz give us a little bit about award-winning publications, and that's something that we desperately need, is more people writing articles. And I know that scares a lot of people, and myself included, but the fact is all you really need to do to get it started is to write down some bullet points of the event, maybe supply some pictures, and the publications team will actually write the story from your information. So it's an easy process, so it really shouldn't scare you. He'll give you a little bit more about that. We have our DSO LP, Keith Blosser, and he will go over some of the Robert's Rules of Order on meeting management, and it's very informative. It will help get everybody on the same page as to how a meeting should operate and what to do if it doesn't. So that's a good session also. After that, we'll have some aux data training, and I know everybody is inquiring about this. We have our ADSO IS Anthony Waters. He is a guru when it comes to aux data, so he will have a lot of information for you on that. And that's pretty much our day, so I just want to let you know that I appreciate you being online. I wish you could be here to hear these members in person, but maybe next time. So sit back, enjoy, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you.